All right, welcome back. Episode roughly maybe six of the Blueprint Dynasty podcast with me and Cam. And the playoff season is upon us. How are we doing, Cam?
Great. Glad to have made the playoffs along with you and three others that will be, I guess, finalized tonight. Although I think we kind of have a good impression of who a couple of those will be, but this is being recorded during Monday Night Football, and there might be a little bit in the balance.
We're about at we can just get a quick update here. We're about to go into halftime in in the Monday Night Football game, and it does look like Jake is handsomely in the lead over Dono.
Mhm.
I mean, Herbert's gonna have to have like three touchdown passes the second half to really give anybody else a chance. But should that happen, then it's pretty clear that Tony and Spencer would be next man up, it looks like. But we got to have an incredible half from Herbert to make that possible.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. I think we start at the bottom. And we'll run out of time before we get to our teams at the top, and that's kind of the goal here. So, 10th place has been decided, and that's going to be More Strange Cousins Booty. Jules Tompkins. I picked him to make the playoffs earlier this year. His team, he traded away some of his best players. He had some injuries. I mean, I don't want to victim blame here, but it has not worked out. And I'm pretty worried about Jules's future. I'll real quick. He doesn't have his own first round pick this year. I traded it for Jameson Williams, who I like. Jameson Williams fine. I don't I didn't love the trade then, but I didn't hate it. But because he doesn't have that, like his best asset is Patrick Mahomes. And then it's a drop off to either like his 2027 first or Travis Hunter or Sam Darnold or Jameson Williams. There's not a lot on the team at the moment that I think says 2026 playoff team. And frankly, 2027 playoffs is going to take some finagling because a lot of the old guys that he had to start the season, I didn't like a lot of the moves he made during the season when he was like quote unquote rebuilding because I don't really like Ricky Pearsall and I don't really like having both running backs in Seattle's backfield. Um, but those are the pieces that he acquired. I mean, maybe that Seattle backfield gets broken up because they're talented enough guys that maybe if they had their own backfield, I mean, I don't know. I think Jules might be looking at 2028 at this point, which is a long way. I know he's a good sport, so I think he'll stick maybe through a rebuild, but it's the bleakest future that I kind of see on the board.
Yeah, he kind of started going for it, and then after he in the span of like 4 or 5 weeks, he went all in and then bailed. Um, he's definitely a creative manager, so I sure on paper right now, I think a lot of people would agree doesn't look like a playoff team next year, and yeah, might be building for 2028. But I'm sure he's got something wild up his sleeve. He got rid of his youth, or he got his first rounder last year, Golden. He got rid of, got a good return. Um, Caleb Johnson. He had two first rounders, I think, last year because then he also took Caleb Johnson, and he's been you can't call him a bust yet, but very disappointing so far there in Pittsburgh. And yeah, going into this draft, he has a lot of picks.
And Travis Hunter got hurt, and he wasn't a huge fantasy asset, but I don't want to call him a bust either.
And
But
that was when he started rebuilding, which I liked that move. I mean, I thought that was creative to go and get Travis Hunter. I mean, he also gave away some youth when he did all that. But
and he's got some
he
second round picks that
two second round picks, what like 19 third round picks? I think he
yeah,
owns the third round.
yeah, maybe he does, but
Four.
I think that with that, there is a possibility of hitting the jackpot. Second round picks, I think, are a lot better than third round picks. in terms of like I think you've got at least like a 50-50 shot of getting a starter. So with some luck, maybe he's got a team that can pull off some upsets next year and does have like a really good team in 2027. So
Yeah.
for
It's
you,
gonna take
Jules.
some work.
Yeah, rooting for you, Jules. You gotta, I think the road ahead. So moving on, I think ninth place is gonna be Chris. I guess I don't
Yep.
quite know. I think Elliott has so many more points that even if he ends up pulling the upset on Jake, that he would still finish ninth. Um, but Chris is another team that I think I got ridiculed for picking a playoff team, and obviously that one proved right because he's not a playoff team. He had some bad luck in terms of like Jaden Daniels got hurt, and we thought he had no running backs to start the year. And then Trey Benson was the starting running back for a week. He's had a little bit of an interesting season, but maybe I have to just take the L and say that there wasn't a great team there to begin with. But I do think he does have some good top line assets. He's got his own first round pick, which is going to be a good pick. The second pick, he's got CeeDee Lamb and Jaden Daniels and Drake London and Justin Herbert and say Flowers. I mean, and then I could go down the list. There's like a lot of role players there that I think are like flex worthy. He definitely needs running backs.
Yeah.
And I think Elliott has been throwing a lot of fits this year about the running back position, about the draft order, because I think there's like one running back that Elliott really wants, and then he like talks my ear off at every party we go to about how there's a huge drop off after the number one pick. So I don't know what's going to be available at number two. And hopefully there's a running back there that just wins at the combine and gets drafted by a great team and ends up working out. Because that's really his biggest weakness. Like he's got good quarterbacks, he's got good wide receivers. I think Loveland is like a serviceable tight end, and I don't think it's worth spending a lot on the tight end position until there's only really right now McBride and Bowers, and then it's like everybody else is just kind of a crapshoot. I mean, there are other good ones like Kittle and Warren, but they're not as consistent. And so the fact that he just needs running backs makes it feasible for him to be good as soon as next year.
Yeah,
But
he'll have two stabs at getting the impact player, in the first round. But
he's got my
totally,
pick, right?
he has James's.
James's, because I traded him James's pick because that's what I owned was James's pick. Yeah,
Yeah,
which will
so
be
he
a
has his.
James is probably going to make the playoffs, so that'll be like a mid-round pick. But still, yeah, you're right, another shot.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you listen to any Dynasty podcast or you're reading anything, like the sentiment has been like, yeah, the 26th draft is kind of meh. There's pretty much a clear one overall, which if he was in last year's draft, he's probably like I don't know, middle of the first or back end of the first, I think. But in this year's draft, he's probably there's probably a clear number one. But it isn't super exciting. But all that will change once we get through combine and playoffs. Somebody's gonna shine in the playoffs, and then people start hyping guys up. But you're right. Like the second pick, it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, this if he could find a buyer for the first round picks, maybe he goes and gets a guy that's already game ready, that's a little bit more proven. That would be I think that could be a great strategy for Chris too, because he's got some pretty tier one wide receivers, and maybe he can use his picks to go get an actual guy in the off season. Turn those in two picks into two older guys, that are starters or something.
Yeah, he's definitely got flexibility. I'm looking at the draft now from last year just to kind of get a picture of where guys went. I know that it was like Genty and then everybody else, but even in the first round, you had Hampton and Henderson and Judkins who were all more or less worked out. In the second
Yep.
round, you had Harvey who's come on late. You had Scatabo who I think had, some people are still excited about despite the injury. And all the way, like Chris got him. Woody Marks is somewhat interesting,
Mhm.
uh, all the way in the fifth round. So maybe he can figure it out. You don't have to nail it at the number two pick. You have to get the right player, and then if it's a running back, that'd be great. But
Yeah,
um,
I think he's had a decent, really good chance at being by the end of draft season and all that, if trades and all that we get get close to week one next year, I feel like he could easily look like a playoff team.
For sure. And I think that theme continues with who I think is locked into eighth, which is Elliott. Elliott's going to win this week, which is going to put him on 6 wins, but he's got a lot fewer points than everybody that he could catch. So yeah, I think he's locked in at eighth, which is going to give him, and he's also got Jules's pick, right? So that's what is his team called?
Somewhat factorless.
Somewhat factorless. So yeah, he's got his own first. He's got Bo's first. He doesn't have Jules's first. Who has Jules's first? I guess we'll.
No, it's Elliott has Jules, Bo, and his own.
Oh yeah, it's 20. Okay, 2026. I was looking at 2027. Yeah, he's got Jules, Bo's, and his own, and he's got Bo's next year. But he's got obviously three shots at. He's got the number one pick, the number three pick, and then wherever Bo's pick lands, which would be late, mid to late. I guess if he loses, no, because he's third, he's definitely going to play me. If he loses that game, I think he would still be considered.
He'll
Well, I
play
guess
for the fourth. They'll do a third place playoff game.
it could be seventh, eighth, ninth, or 10th.
Yeah.
So that's three good picks. Plus he's got neighbors. Hopefully will get healthy. He's got Hampton, who I like. He got Harrison late in the year, right? From
Marvin
Matt.
Harrison,
Doesn't
Harvey.
have good quarterbacks because he traded Dak. He's got Trevor Lawrence and Penix. Whose Penix is probably out all of next year. So he really needs quarterback, and I don't know what the quarterback position's like because it's like the kid from Indiana, but then it would depend on where he gets drafted. So if he can't figure out quarterback next year, which maybe he drafts the best player available because it's not worth getting a quarterback in the first round if it's
Right.
then I still think he could have a back end team next year if he doesn't have a quarterback. I think it's hard in a super flex league to have Trevor Lawrence and then nobody. Um, Trevor Lawrence is like your super flex, I think could be fine, but you would want somebody a little bit better. So I don't know if I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to flip it for a quarterback. Otherwise, he wouldn't have traded Dak.
Right.
So I think he's going to hold the picks. And depending on if a quarterback's available with one of those, that's worth doing. He could be good next year if that quarterback is good, but he's got good pieces. I think like the bones are really good for him to be good in a couple of years. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I feel like he's in that spot. Obviously, like you mentioned, quarterback's a whole, but then if and he's got a lot of exciting guys, and if just one of these guys takes that next step forward and turns into a superstar, and all of a sudden he's got a clear RB1 in Hampton or Harvey, which I mean Hampton already kind of looks like that guy when he's playing.
Yeah,
Um,
he did for a few
you,
weeks.
right. Um, or if Harrison, depending on what happens with the quarterback situation in Arizona, if he takes a big step forward next year, obviously there's neighbors. Like he could, if
Wilson
things go right,
quarterback. So that's three good wide receivers.
yeah,
He'll have what's the guy's name at Notre Dame that everybody love? He'll draft Love number one, and then he'll have Hampton. So that's two good running backs. I don't think he has a tight end, but like we said, you can't care about tight end.
he's got
So
a couple. He's got like Taylor's interesting on his bench. Rookie this
Taylor
year.
Taylor had some good weeks, and he'll have a
Yeah,
new quarterback too, just like Wilson. So okay, let's say that it could happen next year. That he's got really good pieces. I would say out of the guys we've talked about so far, and I guess it makes sense he's in eighth place, but because he's got Jules's and Bo's picks, I mean that really pushes him over the top. He's got top line talent. Like I think he could be pretty interesting.
yeah.
Um, and then
He's in a
every
fun spot. I'll tell you that. I think it'd be fun to manage his team going into next year.
yeah, he's been patient. He figured out like basically after the first year that he had a bad team, and he spent the past 2 years like flipping it, and now he's like a buyer, which is cool.
I believe I'm pulling it up real quick because I was randomly looking at the our league history, and if I'm not mistaken, him and Jake are tied for the worst record in our all-time standings.
Nice.
Um, and with a total of 12 wins over the 3 years.
But everything's looking up for. We haven't even gotten to him yet, but everything's looking up for Mr. Jake.
Yeah, so Elliott could make a jump in those standings this upcoming year.
Definitely. I think in 2 years we might be looking at Jules towards the bottom of the standings. Uh,
Don't
who's
say that.
also had a runner-up year. He's made money in the league.
Yep, yep,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah. All right. We're trying to chug along. So it gets interesting. The next five teams, as of this moment, could all make the playoffs. But I think we're going to talk about the one that I think is least likely to make the playoffs, which is Tony and Spencer. So
Well,
I,
it would be Matt is going to be next.
but Matt would fall below them because I've already beaten Matt, and
Yeah, so Matt's will
Matt's
be
seven
finished
and
as the seventh.
seven. He's
He'll
got
be
more
6 and 8,
points. He'll be 6 and 8,
which is the same as Tony and Spencer, but Tony and Spencer have a lot more points. So Matt's going to finish as the seventh place team.
and unless Lad McConkey scores six more points than Oronde Gadsden the rest of the way, right?
Oh, is that still going on? I forgot they still had.
So
I guess you're right.
technically, Bo could win. Sleeper doesn't think he can. We're doing this live, but technically, Bo could win, and then
Okay,
they wouldn't make it. So let's go ahead and talk about them, even though I
okay,
think the math might be that Matt would be below them. But if they lose, Matt would stay above them. So Tony and Spencer, I think, have one of the strongest teams. I think that's evident in how many points they scored this year, which is 1839 going into this week, which is third in the league. I mean, there is definitely luck involved and all that. They have Josh Allen, who is probably the number one Superflex Dynasty asset. Egbuka and Odunze been inconsistent, but they're young. Dart has looked good, and he runs. You got Judkins and Cook and Brees Hall. They got Dak. I forgot about that. T. Higgins, Chris Olave, Saquon Barkley, uh,
hmm
George Kittle. I mean, there's a lot of good names on there. Gosh, they have George Kittle, Sam Laporta, and Oronde Gadsden. They have three really interesting tight ends. They own their own first round pick, which will be in the front half of the draft because I think they're probably going to miss the playoffs. So that's a lot of firepower. It's a lot more than we've been able to say for any of the teams so far. Um, I mean, they have their own first round pick. They're going to get another good player. Uh, I think, you know, Barkley and Kittle and maybe James Cook are the only like depreciating assets.
Yeah, the other guys are still super young. They
Young
have
team.
like young and really exciting. Um, with
Egbuka's not been as
especially
good as he was earlier this year. Like if we wanted to like pick nits, it's like okay, Egbuka and Odunze were really good early in the year, and then
yeah,
they've
they
been
look like
really
absolute
inconsistent here.
superstars.
And so, are they going to be? What are they going to be? I'd still think they're going to be good, is my opinion. But
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if I wanted to be negative, I did the negative thing week two, like the second podcast when we did power rankings. I was really positive about their draft. I'll remind everybody. Then I was negative about them in the preseason, and then I think since then, and including now, it's like the vision's there that they're going to be, I think, a force next year. Full disclosure, Adam and I talking about the playoffs, we're like kind of hoping they wouldn't make it in terms of them being one of the biggest threats to upset. I mean, anybody can beat anybody in the playoffs, is the reality of like how luck works in fantasy, but their team formidable. And so Sorry that they're probably not going to make it. Um, I don't know what math would work out for them to make it, but uh, good team, really good team. So we can move on, I think, from there unless you have anything to add.
No, I mean, yeah, they're super strong and very young, a lot of good players. So they don't have to retool a whole lot to be ultra competitive next year. And if an Odunze or Ibuka or Olave stays doing what he does, and one of those guys steps up and is that legitimate, top five type of wide receiver, they'd be really dangerous.
Hmm. So right now, Jake is in, Matt is out as of this moment. So assuming that that's true, Matt is our next subject. So he changed his team name to Playoff Fringe Team, and then it almost happened. Um, he pushed in a little bit. I think
Sprinkled in, yeah.
they sprinkled in a little bit. Um,
This
and
might be the only league out there where Jonathan Taylor is not going to be in the fantasy playoffs.
that's true. His
This might
team
be the
was
only
very
one.
Jonathan Taylor reliant. And
Hmm.
when I picked him as a player fringe team, part of that assumption was how good Brian Thomas Jr. was as a rookie. And he's been one of the worst, I think, draft picks in redraft leagues you could imagine.
Yep.
I mean, is there a chance he could rebound next year? Certainly. But it's been the Jonathan Taylor show because Justin Jefferson's had bad quarterback play.
Man, he's this is stinky.
He had obviously Daniel Jones worked out because Cam Ward didn't work out. Matthew Stafford actually was really good. I'm sure he used him sometimes. He's got Jordan Love. He's got his own first round pick. He's also got Jake's first round pick, which is cool. Other than that, I think he kind of had like a starting lineup that was very Jonathan Taylor reliant, and then he doesn't have a whole lot of depth when you get down to it. But he's got two first round picks, so he can start to fill that out a little bit. And I am glad that he pushed in a little bit. Um,
I feel like him, Tony and Spencer and Elliott and probably even Chris, like when I look at those teams and where they're at, I feel kind of almost the same about all of them. It's like they all have pretty solid rosters. Maybe Chris is a little bit weaker than the other three I named today, but when you look at, they have a ton of name value top to bottom, and either they're just going to hit one of those guys or two of those guys are going to have to go off and be next year's stud, or they're going to have to push chips in and go try to buy a superstar or two to pull away from the pack. Otherwise, it's just going to be stuck in the middle of the standings again.
yeah, I mean, I think we're looking at next year, Jules being the only guy that's kind of out of it. I mean, barring him doing something interesting, because I do agree with you. All of those guys who right now we have missing the playoffs are going to be pushing in towards the playoffs next year based on what we're looking at right now. Um, those and they basically own between the four of them the entire first round of draft picks. So it's going to be who picks the right guys and who picks the Caleb Johnsons. It's going to come down to some of that, but I do have a lot of optimism. I can talk myself into any of them. I'd say I have Matt and Tony Spencer a little ahead, just based on the fact that like Donovan's got basically no running backs, and Elliott's got really limited at quarterback position. And like we were just talking about, there's not a lot in the draft that we're looking at in December. We'll reconvene in May that looks like they can solve those positions very easily with their first round picks. Um, versus I think Matt and the Cups have a little bit of an easier situation because they don't have a glaring hole. They can just go like best player available and like slot them into their flex, you know?
Yeah.
Um, So that takes us to the likely playoff teams. As of right now, based on what we're looking at live in this moment, Jake will make the playoffs.
It's
So
incredible.
his team name is still DFL. He might keep that forever because I don't know if he knows how to change a team name.
You want to hear something that's gonna blow your mind?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you believe DFL stands for?
Well, I guess it's dead fucking last.
I just learned this about 2 weeks ago.
uh
It's Droid for life.
That's funny. Good joke. That's a good joke.
He told me that. I was like, what? No way. And he's like, yeah, it's because I have an Android.
He's had this joke staring us in the face.
And he never, like you've said it on a previous podcast, and he's never brought it up.
Well, he and I have only ever talked in text about trades. So I guess it makes sense that he wouldn't confront me about his team name.
Yeah,
But
so it stands for Droid for life, and he'll never change it. I mean,
it's awesome.
I don't see
Okay,
it
he never
happening.
needs to change it. I agree. He's gonna make the playoffs. Uh, he will probably be in the playing game against James. I think that Bo. I think that because James lost to you, that
It's
regardless
points.
if Bo
So
wins or loses, that Bo's gonna be
he's
because
locked in at three.
yeah, I think he's locked in at 3. So he'll play James in the play-in game. He's scored more points than James this season. So definitely a contender to win that game. I'm not picking against James. I'm not picking Jake, but like I think that's going to be a good game. He does not own his own first round pick. He actually does own my first round pick, which is kind of fun facts. He's got some really top line guys like George Pickens had an incredible year.
Hmm.
Scott Genty wasn't great. Williams was good. Nix was good. His quarterbacks is what I talked about in the preseason podcast. They really did work out for him. Tet's been solid, not blowing our socks off, but he's been solid. Pittman, uh, Dawdell ended up being in his lineup, I think, because he came on late. I think Kincaid's really come on and is one of the top. I think I looked at this today because I was joking around with Bo about Tyler Warren, and that Kincaid, I think, is actually higher than Warren in average points this year or total points this year, which is interesting. So Kincaid's solid. Like, I mean, there's a there's a lot. It's not star heavy besides the quarterbacks and Pickens. Um, but it's a formidable lineup. I mean, it runs 9 deep. Um, he has not put up a ton of points several times. I think it's been a pretty middling, but it's been really consistent. And so, congratulations to Jake. Do you want to brag on your buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I when we were talking about the bottom three, I had picked him to be the first to make the playoffs out of the bottom three between him, Elliott, and Matt. I did renege a little bit after a couple trades, but
Yeah, we didn't
yeah,
like the trades.
yeah, we weren't a big fan of his trades. Or I think the retrade with Bo I wasn't a fan of at the time. But it all like most trades, they all kind of iron themselves out over time. Um, but and he kind of pushed some chips in. I think he spent a first and a second maybe to get Pittman and Dowdle, which he probably regrets right now. But Pittman's good, and he's not super old. He's late 20s. He'll use them next year.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Dowdle's kind of been a little bit of a disappointment since he got him. I mean, Carolina's backfield's kind of been a mess. I wouldn't maybe not a mess, but like you just maybe hard to understand or predict.
But he's
Um,
consistent for like double digit points. I mean,
yeah, he was doing great, and then
yeah.
when Chuba came back, then it was like they just wouldn't. He like earned the job, and then they kind of like just took it away from him. So that was a little confusing, but I think hindsight, Jake would tell you he wish he didn't make those trades and he wish he just kind of held back one more year and tried to get some more assets. But again, like we've already said, like moving those first round picks to give yourself a shot, I think was a play this year because the 26th draft isn't super exciting today. I'm sure it'll all change, but
We also were on this podcast multiple times, encouraging him to push in. So
oh
I'm not
yeah, 100%. I
just
was
hasn't
glad it.
pushed in. So he scored 176 points in week 4. He scored 138 points in week 6, 143 in week 9, 159 a couple weeks ago in week 12. But it's been a lot of like, I think his sweet spot's like in the 110s. Like, so that's kind of where,
Yeah,
but I mean, that's enough boom weeks. What did I say? Like maybe 5 of them. That's enough like boom weeks that he could beat us. He could beat James and then beat you in week 16. It's definitely there on paper, but it's not. He's just been consistent because he also, I think, has never failed to break. Oh no, last week he didn't break 100, but every other week he's been in the hundreds. Like he's never had like a really, really bad week besides last week. So, um,
he's
good.
not a scary team to face in the playoffs by any means, but you know, like you
Yeah, he's
said
not a
earlier,
scary
Him
team.
and James will be a good matchup. They're probably kind of similar with the way they score, but he can definitely do it. Put up enough points.
What James has going for him is he's getting healthier. So
Hmm.
he played. So we'll go ahead and go to James. He played most of the year of the regular season year without Rashee Rice, who was suspended for 6 games and then had a bye week on top of that. So he's only played like 6 times. And he's been really good for the most part since he came back. Bowers is tight end 2. Jackson has been a huge disappointment, but did have a decent week this past week. Bijan's been really good, except for this past week. Um, Besides Rice, I don't really think his wide receivers are very good.
Right? He had a,
Um,
he had a goose egg this week with dudes.
yeah. That's kind of where things start to fall apart. He's got star.
He he's yeah, that's the thing. He's got the guys that like can score 40 for him.
Uh-huh.
And with his Jacoby Brissett acquisition, you know,
And that's worked out. That's been
that's worked
good.
out really great for him.
And
And
Neal is now the starting running back, and he got 71% of the snap. He's got 74, 82, and 71% of the snaps since Kamara went down.
yeah, I imagine he's starting for him next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you got Rice, Bijan, Lamar, of course, Bowers, like any of those guys can score 35 points.
He's had
Um,
the most injuries by far. So when you look at his
yeah.
total points, it's a little bit deceiving. I think he's a little bit better than his total points, but it is very reliant on the stars there.
Which I mean isn't a bad thing, right? Like at this, you want to have those guys in your lineup at this point of the year. Like you want to, I don't mind being star dependent, like I hadn't really looked at playoff matchups yet, like who has who next week. But if I, if I was picking between Jake and James, if that's who it's going to be, then my money would probably be on James.
All right. Uh it was written here, listeners. Adam has picked James to win the play-in match.
If it's James versus Jake,
If it's James versus Jake, we'll do an addendum if not.
Chargers second and goal might be another Herbert TD right here.
All right, keep me updated. All right, moving on to the last team we're really going to get into, which is Bo. So, Bo I picked as the 6th team, and he's never let me forget it. He's ultimately going to finish as the 3rd team. Congratulations to Bo, our favorite cash money millionaire. So, uh, Bo has many players to like. His short term is incredible. A lot of this podcast, we've been talking about the long terms. We've been talking about first, second, third round picks. Bo's got none of that. Bo does not believe in the rookie draft. He has traded every draft pick that he had. I mean, not literally, but almost. He's got his 2027 second and his 2027 third, but he's got no first this year or next year, or
He has
maybe
one fourth
the year
round pick this year.
after.
That's it.
Yeah, he's got like one. Yeah, he's not got a lot of picks, but he's got Puka, who has not been as good the past few weeks as he was at the beginning of the season. I have Puka in a league that I care about, and I was like trying to figure it out. And apparently, he has had a huge dip in first read targets. McVay's like really diversified the offense, but that can all change in a week. And next week or 2 weeks from now, when I play him, Puka could score 40 points easily. I mean, I believe that that's possible.
I mean, he's
Tyler,
still the number two wide receiver
oh,
on the
he's
year. Yeah,
absolutely a
this
stud.
last week kind of felt like okay, he's back, but I mean, they were playing Arizona. He kind of has a tough playoff schedule, but um,
That might
you
work
know,
out for him because he can beat anybody, and Stafford's such a good quarterback.
the 2 weeks he'll be playing in the playoffs, they're on the road at Seattle, and then they're in Atlanta, which maybe that's going to be great for him. But um, yeah, I mean, he had a very tiny dip in the middle of the season, and
No,
one
it
of
was a
those games he
tiny
didn't
dip.
play.
It was a tiny dip. I do think he's the best receiver to own this year, even as the person that has Chase and Amon Ra. And we already talked about Pickens, who I think are like the names that are kind of around him in points per game or whatever. Puka's awesome.
It's
So
just some bulletin board material for JSN. So keep going.
yeah, I think that um, after Puka, um, he has a lot of guys that are like back in top 10 at their position. Um, Mayfield's like a top 10 quarterback. Uh,
Is he done right now? I don't know. I
he's
wouldn't
a
say Mayfield's
well, I don't
not
know.
right now.
Well, let's see where he is.
Look at if you look at his last, he hasn't had a game
Actually,
with
he's
more than
like
two
way down.
touchdowns. He
I'm
hasn't had
looking
more
at
than two touch
season.
or more than one touchdown pass since like week 7, I think.
I don't know how to I know how to do it in the app. I don't know how to do it on the website to look at points per game, but you're right. He's way outside the top 10 this year in total points. Um, so you got Mayfield, who I still think is good, but he's got Irving back. I think Irving's good. I like Kyron maybe more than Bo does at this point. Bo like hates him because he traded James Cook and a pick for him. Warren
Yeah,
has,
they did say they're going to start like limiting Kyron to rest him for the playoffs and
yeah, they were
give
talking
more
about Corum
Corum,
playing.
which they did that this week, but Kyron still went off and had 17 points
Yeah,
again. It's against Arizona though.
they both went off, and Jake does have Corum if he needs him. But
Both, yeah.
that could be a trick. Like he might get tricked into starting. Like next week could happen, and Corum could have the majority of the carries again, and then it comes to the first week of Bo's playoffs, and he picks the wrong running back. I mean, I guess that's possible. Adams is really TD reliant, but the TDs usually come. So I mean, I like that.
The one thing with his team, with three of his best players coming from the same offense, it can be a little bit dangerous when you have that. Now Puka's a little bit safe just because he's going to catch a ton of passes and still get
Yeah.
a ton of yards. But
You
if
need the
Devontae
ball.
Adams is
Yeah,
getting the goal line reception, that means his running back's not getting the goal line rush. So,
true.
um, and like I said, that week they're on the road in Seattle.
And we don't know
Seattle's
who his
pretty good at home.
quarterback's going to be because Purdy, right, has been hurt a lot. And then it's like, is it Mac Jones? Geno's not worth playing.
I imagine he'll be starting Baker and Purdy.
Yeah, assuming he's healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, and like as I was saying, he's
Uh,
definitely going to start Purdy.
yeah. He'll start. He'll start Purdy, assuming Purdy's healthy. which would be like a practice setback at this point, I guess. But that leaves really, the tight end
Well,
position, which is Warren. Warren's been solid this year, but obviously there's like no QB in Indianapolis right now. We'll see, maybe Riley Leonard throws to him 14 times in 2 weeks.
yeah, I mean, I will say like the one nice thing about if you're managing Bo's team, like you don't have to make a lot of lineup decisions. Like you're
That's
going to
true.
start Devontae Adams, Puka, and Lab every single week,
Yep.
and Sutton's probably going to be your flex every week. Um,
He has to pick
Trey
running
Beyond,
back too.
do what?
He has to pick running back too.
Well, yeah, he'll have to just like
It'll be
Travion will be his
Bucky,
running back two with Bucky, and then his flex is probably going to be the Rams running back, whoever he picks, and maybe
and then
Sutton.
Sutton gets benched.
Yeah. So
I
like
mean,
he doesn't it's going to be hard to overthink your lineup. So it's like it's clear. I think it's easy for him to put his best team out there, which is a nice spot to be in.
definitely, definitely. So that brings him to his playoff opponent, which will be me. We don't need to spend a ton of time on my team. I am vulnerable because I really rely on two, admittedly of the NFL's best, but two offenses. I'm going to start almost definitely three Bengals and three Lions.
Hmm.
And if either of those offenses has a particularly bad week, I will have a particularly bad week, like I did in week one earlier this year. That was before I even had golf. Besides that, I have Jacobs and Waddle and McBride. Waddle's come on. I'm happy with him. Jacobs has been good all year. McBride's been good all year. I don't have a lot of lineup decisions to make. I mean, I guess,
Michael Wilson.
yeah, Michael Wilson's been great the last couple weeks.
That's that.
Christian
Hey,
Watson's been pretty good
Michael
too.
Wilson and Christian Watson are the guys you'll have to think about.
But am I going to start
Like
hitting Waddle? No. So it's nice to have some depth in case anything weird happens. But I kind of know who my team's going to be. My dog is currently rubbing her head against the rug and making a very funny noise. If that shows up on this recording. So yeah, that's all I really think we need to say about me, unless you want to talk some smack. I mean, I think my team's really good. It has obviously based on this week, it has a lot of upside, but there's downside there.
yeah, I mean I feel like kind of the same about your team at this point this year as I did last year. Because I remember last year just kind of watching your team and trying to keep up with them. Um, we didn't face each other in the playoffs or anything, but just kind of like as I was trying to make a run. But like this year, I feel like you're just starting to really hit your stride. You know, Burrow's back leading that Cincinnati offense. You'll score the most points this week. I think you scored the most points last week. Um, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me check. I don't know if that's true. Yeah, I only scored 127 points last week.
Oh, okay. It was the week before you had
Weeks ago, I
187.
scored more than
And
you.
then, week 12, you had 187. Week 10, you had 185. Week 7, you had 191. So, like, this second half of the year, you've been having some pretty big games.
Yeah, the
It's so,
ceiling.
yeah, some scary weeks for sure. I mean, I think you're, while you're a little bit behind me in overall points, I feel like in the second half, you definitely ahead of me in overall points. Um, I mean, you might be like I said it in the group thread the other day, and like I meant it. Like you have the hottest team. I feel like going into the playoffs.
For sure. But because of the vulnerability of having all my eggs in two baskets, I think Bo could beat me. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's inevitable that we're gonna play each other. But I do like my team a lot. I also like your team. So this is our final team of the night. So you have a very diversified team. Um, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you start two players in the same offense, so you've
Uh,
got and
I'll start Hurts
Seahawks,
and Brown.
you'll start Hurts and Brown. There you go. You'll start
Hmm.
Hurts and Brown. So and Jigba, Collins, Brown are your wide receivers.
And sometimes I'll start May and Diggs together. May's obviously my other quarterback, and then Diggs
Yeah,
creeps into my
May or
flex.
you could start Diggs in the flex, but you have A-Chain, McCaffrey, and then who else will you do in the flex? Derrick Henry.
Henry's so my normal lineup is McCaffrey, Achan, then Nico, AJ Brown, JSN, and then my flex usually is Henry. Sometimes it's Diggs, and then ETN's kind of an option there too.
And then Ferguson's your tight end.
Kelsey. Been playing
Kelsey,
Kelsey.
tight end. But has
Yeah.
Ferguson been better?
No, just this week. Um, just this week. The other weeks, Kelsey's been really great.
Okay.
Yeah, that Kelsey had a really tough matchup this week. But uh, yeah, it's going to be Kelsey probably each week.
Okay. So, definitely a lot to like there. I mean, you're going to be first in points, so you're going to make money this year because that pays.
That's right.
Um, and even if you lose to the 4 or 5 seed, you'll still make money on your buy-in. So that's good. You're probably the favorite, I'd say. I'd say let's see what Fantasy Pros has you at. They'll like do a percentage chance to win. I would guess you're north of 40% on Fantasy Pros for whatever that's worth. They have a league analyzer. I'll click the button unless I'm timed out, and then we're not going to worry about it. But they don't log me out that much, as much as some other apps. Projected standings are loading. They give you a 41% chance to be the champion. Um, Compare that to my 32, James's, no, Bo's 17, James's 7, and Jake's 3%.
Wow.
So 41% chance for you to win. I mean, I think I agree with that. I think your team's very strong, but circle jerk over. I hope that I beat you. Because I'd love to make the money. I hope I beat Bo. I hope I beat you. Bo doesn't need the money. I'd say he's the person I'm least rooting for out of the four of us. Also because he's my opponent. So
Yeah, I must say like man, I really want to win, Cam. I would really like to win. I feel like typically commissioners, it's hard to win your league, and to get the monkey off the back in year three, that
mhm.
would feel good, man. The past like 3 weeks, I've just been once I kind of realized I'll probably win points. I'll probably be 1 seed. You'll be 2 seed. I just have been waiting for the playoffs to get here. And really, we have to wait one more week. We could let James and Jake duke it out. It'll be fun to have some popcorn, relax next week, watch the games, and I'm excited for round two.
Totally. Well, good luck, everyone. Not just that the 5 teams that make the playoffs, but also to everybody that's looking forward to the draft. Enjoy bowl season and all that as you evaluate your picks for next year, and hope that you enjoyed our final. Well, we might do a wrap at the end, but we might not
Yeah,
want to
we
talk
will.
to each other.
Yeah, no, we'll do maybe we'll do a live stream and watch if we're against each other, maybe
If we're
whoever that's in the two game the final week will get together and do a live stream.
if it comes down to Monday Night Football, it could be kind of fun to watch together.
Yeah, we can make that happen. Honestly, whoever's in it, and if Monday Night Football matters, like we should try to make it a point to get some of the guys together.
Definitely, definitely. Well, cool. I enjoyed it. I'll talk to you soon.
Just some great quality banter, man. Who knew this league could develop into to a league with this quality of banter?
If only those guys knew.
I know, man. Shame on
All
them. All right, Cam.
right, good night.
See ya.